Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kid Ankh Ageplay podcast. How is everybody? It's been a while since I did the last podcast because what you guys have been seeing recently have been like recordings that I did, like live streams that I did like back in November, and I just had the time to actually go through and edit. I have a newer episode coming out soon. That's going to involve a whole investigation that I was doing into a nursery in Europe. But regardless of the fact, that's not what we're here to talk about today. This is actually an interview that I've been wanting to do for a while. This is actually for almost about a year I've been wanting to do this interview because I was so impressed when I went to Indiana for Ageplay Inc's Indy Dreamworld that I really wanted to do an interview with the head of that convention. It when Mouse and I went, we had an amazing time, and I was amazed because they did so much with like not as much as like other conventions would have had, but yet they had more than what other conventions had. And it's hard to explain, but at the same time I think that some of you will actually understand what I'm getting at when I talk about that. So yeah, it was such a great time. And without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest for today. Would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nate from Ageplay Inc., otherwise known as Indy Dreamworld, of the convention that we host.
That, I'm just glad that I was able to get you for the show because like this has been like a year in the making, I could say. We had such an interesting conversation at Indie Dreamworld, and I was like, yeah, there's no way I can't have Nate on the show. So yeah, I had so many questions. Like, congratulations of you being the first person that I actually had to write this stuff down for, because this was definitely not the easiest for me to do. Okay, so I wanted to ask, like, so how did Indie Dream World? No. Let's start with the basics. How did Age Play Inc. come about?
That's actually a really good question. So yeah, sorry, my words. Ageplay Incorporated came about as originally as just an idea between me and a friend, but then the friend real soon ended up dropping off from the team because of the personal life conflicts, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, we all have adult responsibilities we have to attend to, so it makes perfect sense. But um, there was a situation where the local community in Indianapolis had a huge rift happen when they announced saying no one can come unless you're under 21. Now, there was a lot of speculation about it having to do with drinking and all that other stuff. Um, Pretty much the short answer to that is it's all he said, she said. That's what it really comes down to, in all honesty. There's no way I can confirm that it was alcohol or not. There's strong implications, what everybody's convinced on what it is, but that's in the end, that's all they are, implications with no data to back it up as to what's for certainly the reason. But needless to say, it was that event is what sparked the idea for us because we were like, well, that eliminates a good chunk of the people in the community because a lot of the people are in the younger age bracket, and people that aren't or that are in that age bracket don't necessarily want to drink. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who do want to drink alcohol, but there's also a lot of people who don't because they don't associate alcohol with their little side. And
Mm-hmm.
so, taking that into consideration, I was like, okay, well, let's see, how can we provide a solution? I've done a lot of community service throughout my years of being around. I've also have owned businesses myself. I mean, I've done a lot for the community throughout Las Vegas, Nevada, to in other states, including Indiana. So I was trying to think, how can I help out everybody? Because not like I feel obligated to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I wanted to help out, and I was in a situation where I had the capacity to do that. And so I said, I've created websites before, I've ran businesses before. can't be much different. I've done research, I've gotten education, so I know what to do in regards for nonprofits. And so I said, let's create a nonprofit. And so I said, and if it's at all possible, we'll do a 501c3, so then we're tax exempt. But yeah, let's do a nonprofit so we can prove to the community that we're here for them, not for their money. And I was saying to our team at the time, I said, if anyone ever was to question us about the cost of events, being a nonprofit reassures that, hey, we're not charging more to pocket it. It's more so that we can better those events and future attractions for you for years to come. So your experience is equally just as much more enjoyable. And so with that said, we started off as a small group. Before we could turn into a nonprofit, there was a lot of money you had to pay first. And when I say it's a lot of money, I mean it's a lot of money. Just the attorney fee was $600. That doesn't include the actual filing fee to become a nonprofit, which is more than $280 on top of that. Obviously, nobody, well, I can't say nobody. The majority of the people don't have that kind of money just sitting around to just give away pretty much to the community at free will without it affecting their personal finance situation. Am I right? So, with that said, it took a while. I was like, okay, well, we're going to get to this. We need to start small. We started off as a small group, which we were Ageplay Inc. But you notice, well, you may or may not have noticed, from the time we first started to up till now, if you had paid really close attention to our name and to our logo, there was a change made. The I in Incorporated started off as lowercase. Now it's uppercase. Why? Lowercase was our legal loophole for not getting in any sort of legal trouble, since we were not an official corporation or like an official entity. We were just a group at the time. If we had it capitalized, then people are going to say, hey, you're a corporation, but you're not this, and then I can get fined for that. And I didn't want that. And I wasn't trying to get in any legal trouble. I just wanted to paint out a perfect roadmap, or an outline, I should say, to turn into a roadmap, to turn into a reality, so the community can grow together and just flourish, is the best way to put it. So we did that, and then it wasn't until from August of 2021 is when we started, all the way up until about November of 2021, when we started to gain a huge amount of attendance boosts to our events, but more importantly to our online website presence. And the reason why I'm saying that that's more important is because while it's great that we have a lot of people that come to our events, if we're having more presence on our website, that means more people are hearing about us and word is spreading around, which means it's going to result in more attendance at our events. So no matter which way you look at it, it's always a win-win situation. By the time November came along, we then went and said, okay, this is how much money we have raised up. This is how much money we put into these events, and we continue to put to these events. Let's take some of this money and let's make us legally official so we don't get in any legal trouble. And Ageplay goes away permanently. We didn't want that. That was going to crush my heart personally, because I knew we were doing something good. Everybody was thanking us and was just grateful to have a place to go to be themselves without any judgment, ridicule whatsoever, or any criticism, when our only requirement was you just have to be a legal age. If you're 18 years or older, you can come over. That's all we required. We didn't want anybody to feel like they were shut out. The only reason you'd be shut off is if you are not of legal age. And I'm sorry, but you can't be a minor in there. There's a lot of legal issues with that, and a lot of moral issues with that. So that's it. You got to be 18. That's our only requirement. Sorry for the people who aren't. Just wait till you're 18, then come join us. But before that, stay to yourselves. It's a big no-no. So, but anyways, get back on track. We started the filing process. Went really well. We got it done. And at that point, we were official. We were legally known as Ageplay Incorporated. And some people have questioned us about that. They're like, why would you become a nonprofit, let alone, how do I know you're not lying? I've always told people, I said, just do an state of Indiana entity search and then search up Ageplay. You will find us. It's a public record. You publicly you're legally required to be included in that entity database the moment you're formed as a nonprofit corporation. And so when that happened, we were in there in the state of Indiana as a nonprofit corporation. Now, in regards to when I brought up the whole 501c3, we unfortunately just now got a determination letter on that as of just last week. We will not be able to be a 501c3, so unfortunately, it means we will get taxed, which sucks because we're not pocketing any of this cash. It's all going to the group, so it means that some of that money gets taken out. So what that means for the community in the future is you may start seeing a tax charge for events. Please note, we don't want to charge that, but we try everything we can, and that's just the reality of the situation we're going to be dealt with here in the future. And it's just because we went through everything we can, and because of some IRS loopholes, or student requirements is a better way to put it, is why we can't be deemed as a social tax exempt 501c7 is what it would be called, or a 501c3. Reason of that being is we would have to charge everybody a monthly membership fee and have to pay them in order to be a social club. Obviously, that's not going to work out. So,
I would actually say that, just on personal opinion, that might actually work, because here in my city, in Pittsburgh, we actually do have like a nightclub that, like a kink-based nightclub that that people can join. It is very much a social club, a BYOB type place, but it does work to that advantage, and there actually are like positives to that, like essentially like membership control, meaning that you're able to vet people way better doing that. This is just from the opinion of someone who's seen like one of the groups do that. I understand that this is probably something that you might you wouldn't be interested in, but I'm just saying that the social club idea wouldn't be a bad idea.
yeah, and I see exactly where you're coming from, and I would consider that. The thing, though, is what you just described is a process we already have for our tickets, our ticketing system for our events, and I even explained that to them. I was like, this is what we do. What you described to me is exactly what we do, and they said, yes, but are they official members, meaning they're charged every single month a certain fee, and then are you paying them this certain amount each month with whatever's left over instead of putting it back into the group? And I said, so you're saying that you want these, that I have to have these people as officers of a nonprofit? And he said that would be correct. And I said, well, that's not work because the amount of people that we have as members on our site is over 1,000 people. So if we get $500, we use up a $375 that in supplies for the event. That remaining amount has to get dispersed to the other 1,000 people, instead of being put into the next event. But then also, if they're having to pay for a monthly fee on that, then they have to pay for it on top of that. I said, well, what purpose is that gaining us? That also lacks some trust and credibility of us being a nonprofit, because then people are going to question, if I got to pay a monthly fee on top of tickets, where is this extra money going to? That just sounds more borderline to kind of being a for-profit. Because you can have a not-for-profit and still be a profit, and that's where it gets very complicated. But we are not that. We don't pocket any cash. Trust me, my fiance has asked me a couple times when she first met me was, so do we get any of this take home or any of this cut to take home with us? And I said no. I said I'm not interested in it for it. I've got a 9-to-5 full-time IT job that pays the bills and more. So I'm not worried. I don't need that money, and I'm not interested in that money. I'm doing this for the loving kindness out of my heart to be there for the community, because I being an ABDL and an H player myself, I already know how tough it is to have those opportunities to express yourself, and to be able to be the one that, or be another person to help create those opportunities, makes me feel so good about myself, knowing that I'm making such a huge difference on the lives of many people. And so with that said, we are going to get taxed on it. It's just what it comes down to, and that's That's fine. I mean, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's fine because I just don't want to be in any trouble with the IRS trying to give them any headaches.
Yeah,
uh,
no, that I can completely understand. I can definitely
yeah. But with that said, though, that's how we ended up forming. And with starting off as a H Incorporated, while our presence at the time had grown to almost 1,000 people, by November we weren't quite at 1,000 people. We were at a little over 800 people, if I remember correctly. Trying to go back a couple of years here, so don't quote me on it and don't sue me for saying the wrong number. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just going to be blanking on it. I'm just going based off of memory, and a lot has happened since then.
understand. Hmm.
But needless to say, by that time, I'm sure, unfortunately, everybody can remember what happened in November of 2021. The whole disaster of TeddyCon.
Yeah. Oh no, no, no. There's a podcast episode on that actually.
I believe that, and with that said, that's what sparked Ageplay Inc. to start to get known about a lot more people outside of just Indiana. And what I mean by that is when I had quickly caught wind of vibe of just the locals alone, along with some people that I knew back in my home state in Las Vegas, Nevada, telling me what happened with TeddyCon, because I wasn't originally going to go to TeddyCon. And the simple fact being is I couldn't at the time because my work schedule just was conflicting. I couldn't go. I
have
could, I would have.
have you ever been to TeddyCon anytime? At any point?
I had, unfortunately, I did not, because by the time I had found out, it was too late for me for two reasons. Work schedule didn't work out, and then two, as we all know, TeddyCon is no more.
Yeah.
So I'm not lie to and say, yeah, I have, and there's people that can vouch for that. No, say I've been to CapCon, but not TeddyCon. And so, with that said, went ahead and thought about it, slept on it for the night, and I said, a lot of people are upset. We're doing really great. We want to get our presence out there more known than it already is. And I said, and I know it's going to require some of my own personal money out of my own pocket to do this. And I'm okay with that because I really want to see this succeed. We got to find a way to make it right. Because a lot of people bought tickets and got scammed is the nicest way to put it without sugarcoating it.
Yeah, I would tell you definitely should go back and see the 3 episode podcast we did on that. It's actually a really funny. Like I cover a lot of things from that, and I was also explaining to people about how that's not the only terrible shit that ever happened. A lot of people don't remember, but like back in the day, there was the Howard Stern incident, and like everyone is just like, "Wait, what about Howard Stern?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, someone at TeddyCon management thought it was a good idea to invite Howard Stern and then lie about it after it got back out to the community. But then they started trying to blame everybody else for it. It wasn't until someone that I know that happened to be close to the situation and close to the heads of the con actually tell me was like, nah, they lied about that. They're like they invited them
Wow.
because they thought that it was going to bring like extra more people to the convention if there was like Howard Stern. That was one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard.
Everybody right, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, like that was before the whole Miley Cyrus thing came out, which a lot of like people just read my post about that recently where I was explaining about like how that whole thing goes around. I've heard rumor that she still goes to kink events. I don't know if she
I
does.
don't know. I confirm she's definitely not been to any Ageplay Incorporated kink events, because if that was the case, we would have gotten out on that one. Not
Yeah,
by
I
other people.
if I'm not mistaken, she was going to them in New York, and so like because there are a lot of kink based events in New York City. Excuse me. A lot of the kink based events in New York City are really, really like they're good, but they're expensive. Like a normal kink event is usually about $20 for you guys to go to. That is like local.
Correct.
In this particular case in New York City, it's double that. So it's
Oh,
40. It's 40 to get into certain places. There are some kink events that happen almost every week, but what makes them so expensive is that they actually do gender based ticketing, which I hate that. I hate the gender based pricing. I think that's stupid. But what happens, I understand why they believe that they're doing it. At the same time, it doesn't actually work because you still have problems at events even with gender based ticketing. So yeah, it's stupid. The other thing I was going to say is that in New York, they like some events have it where you can rent a dominatrix, and so like you can go there for an event and guarantee yourself a really fun night. They like where you can do a scene or a session with someone. However, those are extremely expensive because it's like $20 per every 10 minutes.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so by the time that you get like a 2 to 3 hour thing, that's like $300 $400. So yeah, like I said, New York is expensive. But like I like the idea of what you're doing because I like the idea of being able to have an event that is ready to go and people know exactly what they are wanting as far as the event goes. I like that. I think that's really cool. And I just wanted to say you're doing an excellent job with that because from what I saw out of Indy Dreamworld was absolutely amazing. Um, for those of you that have heard Mouse and I talk about it on a previous episode, Indie Dreamworld was it like is nothing short than amazing because like I've been to TeddyCon. I've been to TeddyCon like every year since 2017. I'm gonna tell you right now, TeddyCon has never had half of the shit that Indie Dreamworld did. That's just the cold as my favorite anime character once said, that's the cold hard truth. So yeah, it's true. Because when I went to Indie Dreamworld, there was a PlayStation, there was an Xbox, there was a Switch, there were digital games, there were the hologram games such as like it scans where your foot is on the floor so that it like you could play like essentially soccer with a projector. It was really cool. There was a ball pit. There was actually that's another thing. Can I just say thank you for the sanitization of a ball pit because we sure as hell did not get that at TeddyCon, or at least I've never seen them do it. So yeah, I was very impressed with that, and I thank you so much for like how great and like your game room. You had a game room, you had a dungeon, you had all of these spaces, and you made this work for this convention. That was amazing. Pillow fights, laser tag, like the sheer fact that you thought of that shows like the amount of work and dedication that you put into that. A matter of fact, part of what I saw at Indie Dream World is what inspired the page group which is the local group that I run here in Pittsburgh. Um, that's what inspired me to do so much work to try to innovate that. And I stopped going for the impression of just, oh, okay, everybody's going to meet up. No. The idea and the thing that made Indie Dream World so great, it wasn't just that it was a fun event to go to, it helped build connections. It helped build friendships. It helped people to get together, to chat, and to just have a great time. There were people that I met that are completely different circles than myself. And we had a wonderful time of conversation. Like everyone was conversating, which is different from like which was different than TeddyCon because TeddyCon was very clicky. Holy crap, was it clicky? and it was real hard to really chat or get to know somebody because everyone was offended by you like talking to them in some cases unless you approached in a very particular way. And there were a lot of things that were going on with that convention that was just no. Yeah, that's all I got to say on that. But essentially, what I wanted to ask too is just that, like, my point is just that I've always been a huge fan of Indie Dreamworld after last year. Like I constantly talk about it because I'm constantly trying to explain to people is this is the way conventions should be done. Now I've never been to CapCon, so next month will be my first time going. I am looking forward to the experience of because I've never gotten the chance to experience it. And from what I've been told by a lot of my friends that went to like TeddyCon and other conventions, they all tell me the same thing. Cap is where it's at. So if Indie Dreamworld was the precursor to my experience at Capcom, I think my experience at Capcom is going to be amazing. Um, so that brings me to my next question, and I wanted to ask you on this, right? Like, what now? How did you like? How long did it take for you to get Indie Dreamworld off the ground? Because it kind of felt like it just popped out of the ether, out of nowhere, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is a convention that's happening. What? Wow, whoa, oh, okay." So I showed it to Mouse and I were like, "Yeah, seems like a really we can do this. We should go." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm all for it." So, how long did it take you to come up with that? Like, what was the time frame that you got prepared? Because I'm wondering, because I wanted to ask this question when we first met, but I wasn't like I forgot to ask the question, so I'm gonna ask it now. Yeah, so like, did Indy come out of like was that like a 3 month thing that you guys were like, okay, we got enough money to do it, let's do it? Is that how that worked, or was there a longer planning process?
Um, that so the way how that actually transpired out to be the easiest way to explain that is it was not a long-term planning process. Like I said, as when TeddyCon, the situation happened with that, I felt like, okay, well, what can we do to make everybody feel better? And we wanted to grow as Ageplay Incorporated and gain some bigger trust in the community, not just at a local scale, but at an international scale. We didn't want just, hey, this country's trust. We wanted everybody in the world to know when they hear of Ageplay, the first thing they think of is, oh yeah, you're talking about Ageplay Incorporated. Yeah, they're awesome, awesome people there, awesome nonprofit organization. They throw an awesome convention. It's the safest place. They go like it's just by all means, it's amazing. It's like heaven on earth. And I was trying to think, how can I find a way where we can gain that kind of trust and credibility and reliability when we're so brand new? And so I thought deep in heart, I was like, okay, well, while we have this much money saved up from our smaller events, we're still going to need a lot more money. So, me working in IT, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of research for someone to figure out if you work IT, you make decent money to good money. It's a given. And so, with that said, me being a single man at the time, obviously, I I would have more money that is easy to recuperate and dispose of than a person would who has a full time family and a full time job and etc. So I said, you know what? I'm going to invest some of my money. I'm going to invest the rest of the money that we have in this nonprofit. Let's throw on a convention. But before I made that official, I brought it up to my team and I said, hey, team, you guys know I don't like to make these decisions without running it by you guys first. I want to hear everybody's thoughts. How does everybody feel about doing something that's big? You're probably going to laugh at me. You're probably think I'm crazy. And that's fine. But I really think we can do it if we put our minds to it. And they said, okay, what is it? And I said, what are your thoughts about us throwing a convention? And a couple of them laughed because they thought that they heard me wrong when I said convention. They thought I said convention. I was like, no, you heard me right. And they said, well, we can do that. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. But how? And that's when I told them, I was like, well, fortunately, I've got a lot of connections and resources within the local community. Outside of the community, I also know some connections from me meeting people throughout the years. I said, if we reach out to them and then use our resources here locally in Indiana, we can make this happen. I said, now it's not going to be like some grand, spectacular, like 5-star level convention with all those attractions. I said, we can't do that because, I mean, let's be honest, it's a first time convention. I already know some people are going to be sketchy about it. And we're dealing with the whole diverse situation with the local Ageplay community in Indianapolis right now. So I said, but I want to do something instead of just sitting here and doing nothing and hearing everybody be so upset, because I would go to my inner baby religiously. And I would tell people, you can always ask Sabina and Ryan. They would know. They know me on a first name basis. I'm literally best buds with them. I got their, we've got everything going on. We're supporting each other. And with that said, I always heard at least twice every time I went there. And I went there almost on a daily basis because where I worked at was quite literally down the street from where the store was located. And I'd always hear people talk about how upset they were with TeddyCon and how this was their first one, or how they were looking so forward to this because they were going to meet this person and XYZ, or get to meet some old friends that they haven't gotten to see in quite a few years. And that was breaking my heart, just hearing how much heartache and sorrow that TeddyCon had caused so many people. And so with the team being on board with it, I said, okay, team, this is where we're at. It's December. Capcom has not said anything about them doing a convention, which is why everybody is even more upset. Nobody knows that Capcom's going to happen. Not even we knew at the time. What I did find out later on was Capcom was waiting to see how the success of TeddyCon went. If TeddyCon went successful coming out of the pandemic, then Capcom was going to go and throw theirs on. If not, they were contemplating about maybe waiting another year. And so with that information, I took that to heart, and I was like, okay, well, TeddyCon didn't happen, so that either means Capcom's not going to happen, or Capcom's got to figure it out and decide if they're going to do it or not. But with it being December, I highly doubt they're going to do it in March like they usually do, just given because that's 3 months. I'm not saying they can't throw a convention in 3 months, but it's not easy. And reason why I'm going to say it's not easy is because I was that one crazy person who said, you know what, let's take on the initiative. Let's take on the challenge. Let's see if we can throw a convention on in 3 months. Well, we tried that. The first almost 2 months was spent just trying to secure the hotel that we had. And I'm sure you already know and can remember the hotel was not the best. It was supposed to be much better condition, but I was scammed. I was given a polished turd is the nicest way to put that. And I am forever sorry for all the attendees.
I'm going to combat this because granted, I got the golden room of the entire con, and which I think it was all the rooms that were in that far back were perfectly fine. It was the rooms that were closer to the front that were the issue. And like I was talking, like Mouse and I were talking about that. Yeah, when we got there, like oh god, since you brought that up, when we got there to Indiana, the first thing that we ended up was at the bus stop, and I immediately I thought, oh god, we're not in Indiana. We done time travel back to the Bronx circa 1996, and 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 when I looked across the street, I go, oh shit, and there's a White Castle. I was like, that's just the icing on the cake. Uh, my mom heard me tell that story, and she just laughs because she gets the cultural meaning. But the thing is that The part that got me was is that we were in the car, and as we're getting there, the hotel, like, Mouse looks up the hotel, and he goes, "Did you look up the hotel?" I was like, "No, did you?" He goes, "No," and I go, "Oh, what's wrong with the hotel?" And he goes, "Well, except for like two pages, it's a 1.5." I was like, "Excuse me." And yeah, that was the shock. But when we got there, I was observing the place when we got there. Whatever they had there was on their best behavior, I guess, because uh Mouse and I didn't see anything in our room. We checked it up and down because that's convention protocol for us because we're cosplayers as well, and that's what we always do is always check our room. But yeah, no, our room was golden. I think a couple of other rooms in the on that stretch were golden, but I do know that a couple of people in the like towards the front rooms had a couple of issues. Nothing major, and I that's what I was wanting to point out. Excuse me. You like you were just saying that you got scammed out of that, and this goes to our conversation because I clearly stated, like, I was like, Nate, I think I you know you did more with nothing than you did with something. So, like, yeah, the hotel's not the best, but look what you did with this. This is
Yeah, we made the best of the situation that we could with the hotel, and I'm just glad with the way how it turned out. One thing that I will say that I am forever grateful for everybody that came to Indy Dreamworld. I first wanted to say thank you for all for coming and supporting us, especially with it being our first one. We know how difficult it is going to a brand new convention, especially when especially when that convention had already had a lot of haters up front that didn't even know anything about it, and they were just simply being
oh,
grouchy about it. That's the nicest way to put it. And it's
you mean
like,
the TeddyCon fanboys, like
yeah,
the ones that were just yelling about everybody? Yeah, I know about this.
I was gonna say that in on Reddit, all over Reddit. It doesn't take hard to search up any Dreamland on Reddit. You'll find what I'm talking about.
Oh wow.
Uh, so with that said, yeah, we had gotten a lot of backlash, and I will admit, I'm confident that that is what caused a huge decrease in numbers for last year was because of all that backlash, and the backlash was completely unnecessary. Everybody was just making assumptions, and it was because of these reviews from the hotel. And I'm like, look, there's so much you can do in reality when you have less than 3 months to throw on pretty much an international convention. And the reason why I'm going to say international, it wasn't intended to be international. I only say that because we did have a couple people from out of the country that did come.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, international. We didn't expect that to be, but hey, when you're online, anybody from the world can buy a ticket in the community. Obviously, they were vetted and they were the right people that in the community. They weren't just some newscaster or anything like that. So, with that said, we weren't expecting it to be that big. We intended to purposely keep it between 100 to 150 people. Ended up being 204 people. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for complimenting Ageplay Incorporated and me myself in particular. I wish I remember this individual's person's name, and I apologize. I was literally running on fumes, as some of the people can vouch there, on energy drinks by the second to last day of the convention
The man
because of
was
the
a
lack
zombie.
of sleep. Yeah. uh, I was making sure everybody was happy and making sure if any issues that the hotel was causing was mitigated as much as possible. I mean, shoot, I had my team run over to my house and go grab an industrial space heater for the vendors because it was an ice box in there.
Oh, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the vendor's room. It was like
Yeah,
the eighth ring of hell. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember. It was
So
freezing.
yeah, I
Like,
I did our best so hard to make sure that it was enjoyable for everybody, and ironically, everybody already knew that it wasn't my fault on that, and I was so scared about everybody saying, "Oh, I'm not going to come back again
oh
because
no,
the art was
no.
so awful." I was worried about it, and I was trying so hard to do it. But our sponsors said this, and even attendees had said this. I said, "You guys, Give me the good, the bad, the ugly, please, because I want to improve on this. Please, first off, no, we are not coming back to this hotel. They lied to me. They lied to everybody else here because they made me look like a liar, and that ends up being everybody being
I
misinformed.
I
And I
pers-
said, I don't want to do this. And one person, one person in particular, again, I don't remember their name. So if they're listening, I want to say thank you. And I apologize for not remembering your name because I was on fumes. But I remember you saying that this convention is the most flawless convention you've ever, or they had ever been to. They had been to several Capcons and TeddyCon conventions in the past several years. And they said not once have they ever been to a convention where it went off so well, so flawlessly. And they said that the only thing that they complain about is stuff that was beyond our control, which was with the hotel. And they said even then, you went out of your way to fix all these issues of the hotel, and that's not even your
Wait, that was
responsibility.
me.
You said yes,
Yeah,
but there was also a
somebody
woman.
else that also brought that up.
Yeah,
Because there was, because I had a conversation earlier that night with you. I had a conversation with you Saturday night, and a whole
correct.
bunch of other people, and I I had made the comment of like how you guys, like I said, you guys had you had nothing, and you worked that nothing and made it into something, and that was something that I was very impressed with. And like, even with all of the things with the hotel, like, you guys had breakfast for people, there was dodgeball, there was a lot of stuff there. The hotel itself, was it the best? No. Not by a long fucking shot.
I'm
But
not going to deny.
but you had with everything that you had to work with, you did an excellent job. And that's me saying that sincerely. You did an excellent job. And it's like, the thing that I'm going to, okay, so let me just, let's talk on the convention, right? The dungeon space. Thank fucking God you had that. Oh my God. Do you know, okay, so for a lot of you who have never been to these conventions at all, right? Let me give you a little background here. When you went to TeddyCon had a dungeon space that was not for any of the attendees. I'll say that again. They had a dungeon space that was not for any of the attendees. The dungeon space was for the hosts of the con, the people that ran the con and their friends. And that dungeon space was there for their people to show off what gear they had, and for them to do scenes with their preferred or significant others or partners. It was stupid. And it was just, you walk through and then that's it. And I was thinking to myself, why the fuck is this here? Like, this is the dumbest fucking part to this entire thing. And they're like, oh, isn't this cool? It's like you took the entire class. It's like you took the entire con to an aquarium, and then you're like, isn't the aquarium cool? No, we've seen the aquarium before. Why did we didn't pay like 108 to like $108 to $120 to go to a con to look at an aquarium? We came here to have fun. There should have been always been a dungeon space, and I never understood why TeddyCon never did it. And if TeddyCon's answer to that would have been, oh, well, the hotel wouldn't have allowed us, you Ben should have moved out of that fucking hotel after the owner died. Like you should have been moved out of there. Especially when you had staff members of the hotel harassing people for Popeyes. Oh. Oh, did I never tell that part of the story? That's another time. But the idea is that they, like, that fishbowl mentality of carrying the dungeon was fucking stupid. It was dumb. So when I went to Indy Dreamworld and you guys had this dungeon space for people to actually do scenes, that was fucking amazing. I immediately, do you know you got 5 stars for just having that? Then you gave opportunities for people to win so many prizes. And you did it in fair games. You did it in very fair games. So when people went to this con, they went into the ball pit and found the ball with the sticker. They went into like the different rooms and found like the Lego brick, the boxy Lego brick that had like that had a winning ticket in it. It was really cool. I appreciated that. And the sheer fact that you guys did that and gave so many chances, and it increased the fun for everybody because everybody was working together to try to find this extra ticket. I thought that was awesome. And it made me actually go, wow, this is how you throw a convention. This is how you do it. How did people miss this? And I can't say enough about how forward I am to looking. I'm looking forward to the next Indy Dreamworld because that was a really fun convention. The trip there, I can tell you guys of the harrowing journey that it took to get to Indiana, but I can also tell you the awesome trip that we had. It was a really good time. Like it was a really fun, good time. And like I said, I look forward to doing that again. My only issue is that I think if we go to Indy again, we're probably gonna drive, or if we do take bus, like I gotta figure out a better bus route because holy shit, Greyhound, like the harrowing journey that Greyhound took me on was terrible. Like, yeah, I'm gonna talk to a couple of friends and see if we can get driven down there. It'll be great. I don't know. I don't know if Mouse will be with me this time. Because Mouse is gonna be going to Anthrocon, and Anthrocon is like a week before, like a week or two before. So we'll see. I don't know how much money he's spending at Anthro. That all depends, and because like homie still owes me for a lot of stuff. So, but no, yeah, like I said, it. I don't know why you guys got the backlash, the backlash, whether on Reddit or not, and if it was based on a hotel. Guys, there's always ways to avoid that, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It wasn't it like when we got there. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be shit," and then when we got there, I was like, "Oh, well, check the room. The room was fine. Everything was pretty good, and I had no complaints." And so, like, the only thing I will complain about is that our room got cold because Mouse is a lizard. So he like somehow like he had to turn on the heat because it was really cold. Yeah, it was real cold that weekend too. But he had to turn on the heat. And when he turned on the heat, it was up a little bit too high, so we tried to turn it down and it broke. Like it just never turned back on. And we were like, "Oh, I guess we're going to freeze."
No, I'm so sorry that happened.
It's not on you. That's not on you. And plus, that gives me stories to tell. Like I don't know if I ever sat down with you sat down and told you about this one, but there was a harrowing journey that happened at TeddyCon one year, and let's just say this podcast wouldn't have gotten made if it wasn't for that.